Well, everyone, y'all know the drill. It is Super Bowl week. The Chiefs kick off their media appearances tonight in New Orleans, and the Chiefs are about to start on that quest for the three-peat. We're going to talk about it all here. Ryan's going to join us here in a little bit, but don't worry about it. We'll get you guys covered here on RGR. What's going on, everybody? Nice to be back, right? That's like the big thing. I'm here. We're back after the Senior Bowl, back down in Mobile, Alabama, and it was a great week. I'm sorry I couldn't do more of my content for you guys. I was very, very busy with the Draft Network, and like I said, Ryan will be coming back. He's got to reboot his computer here because having some technical difficulties, but not to worry. And I will be providing you guys with more content from Senior Bowl as we get into that. But you all know the drill. Like I said, this is year 3 in a row. The Chiefs are going for the third Super Bowl in a row, and it all starts now. Practices have already begun in New Orleans, and the Chiefs are going to be beginning not just that part, but they have to go through the whole dog and pony show, right? They got to get up in front of everybody on stage with the Eagles and go through Super Bowl media. But we'll talk about all of that and everything like that to begin with. And let's go ahead. Oh, that's fun. All of my questions were completely taken away, so that's fun. Let me just go ahead and star all these real quick. And welcome in, everybody. Good to see you. Hi, all. What's going on, Sin? Maybe. There we go. What's up? Nice to see you guys in here this evening. Just like I said, I'm just going to restar everything. No big deal. All right. All right. I did see you guys talking about the field a little Cooper Cup action, which we will get to as well. So let's go ahead, guys. We'll start off right here with Chad's question. What's going on, man? What did you think, or what do you think the main focus for the Chiefs will be, stopping the run game or the passing game against the Eagles? If we really think about this critically, right? The one thing that they're going to want to do and be very well equipped to do is run the football, even with their offensive line going through some injuries and things like that. So it's going to have to be number one thing, stopping Saquon Barkley. If you let him go for 150 plus yards, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be tough for your defense to get off the field. So all in all, I think we just have to understand that it's not going to be about stopping him in terms of he can't rush for 100 yards. That's probably okay, right? That's probably okay if he gets 100. You want to limit the explosives, right? You want to force them to grind out a couple yards here. You want to be able to tackle well. The big thing for this specific situation is you cannot allow Saquon Barkley to break 20, 30, 40, 50 plus yard runs. You have to be sound in your tackling technique, and you have to be able to bring him to the ground when you get to him. That's the big thing. He breaks a bunch of tackles and then takes them down for big runs. That's really the key here. So limiting, not taking away, limiting. You want to force Jalen Hurts to beat you in this football game, which I think that's what the Chiefs will end up doing. What's going on, Daryl? Nice to see you. Hi, everybody. Yeah, listen to this one right here. Hit the like button. It really helps us out. Helps out getting out there to the rest of Chiefs Kingdom. You all right, sweetie?
Hi.
Little one says hi. All right. Hey, Dan. What's going on, FLDB? Nice to see you. Swag boy, good to see everybody. And so let's talk real quick. We answered the Saquon Barkley question, but let's just kind of take a little bit of time to reflect, right, about what we've seen from the Chiefs over the course of the last 3 seasons. Now, we know Patrick Mahomes' deep ball hasn't necessarily been what we expect, right? They've had to make some changes offensively, getting it done different ways. The RPO was a big part of their passing game for a few years, right? We saw that go through some transitions when teams wanted to really prevent them. So they kind of widened their defense a little bit. They sat in those passing lanes, and then they were and then they, that's not my fault. That's not my fault. Then they got in the throwing lanes right there to prevent the Chiefs from going those quick RPOs. That's what they wanted to do. The Chiefs decided they were going to start attacking outside and then in the flats early with their quick passing game. That changed things up a little bit. The Chiefs run the ball here and there, but overall, we started to see defenses start to back up a little bit, kind of condense in a little bit, using more motion, has freed up the RPO game, and it's back right now, where you see Hollywood Brown being more impactful in that way. So I really like what they've done in adapting. Obviously, they run a couple of plays last week against the Bills, or 2 weeks ago at this point, almost against the Bills, where it was something that they had never done before. That's what I didn't expect from Andy Reid, and I'm glad he did bring out some things that we hadn't seen before. So very excited to see what that is. But this is history, right? Not only are the Chiefs up to do something that's never been done before, they already have in being the first team to ever win 2 straight Super Bowls, get to the 3rd straight Super Bowl after winning those first 2. So I understand that what we see from Patrick Mahomes and this team, it's literally happens every single year. So it's hard sometimes to be in that moment and reflect on what actually we're seeing as football fans and Chiefs fans. So just try to remember that regardless, we're seeing real greatness, and this is already the best team that has ever lived. Don't forget that. It's the best team that's ever lived. So let's go ahead, keep on chugging here. SSG, what's going on, Minotaur? Nice to see you. One of our members. I can't imagine we don't use D-Hop at all this game. Well, what do you see as a good way to attack the Eagles defense with him? So it becomes a little difficult because he does play the majority on the outside when your 2 best receivers, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, operate best out of the slot or the Z. That means he'll likely match up with Quinyon Mitchell, who is their best corner on the outside. I also would imagine you're going to probably see him with Darius Slay a couple times. Darius Slay is a small guy. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking to get him matched up on Darius Slay whenever I can, and then I'm going to attack that way. One little quick nugget that I'll share for you guys now that, it's going to be in the game plan on Friday too. But what they've done in the postseason so far has been, Travis Kelce in the game against Houston, Xavier Worthy in the game against Houston, and Xavier Worthy in the game against the Bills. He has been getting a lot of attention. They move him around a lot. They motion him. They give him the ball in the flat. They throw him the ball down the field. It's going to create a lot of defensive gravity, right? Eyes are going to go to Xavier Worthy wherever he goes. You're probably going to have some opportunities from Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins in this game when they're isolated against players that they will have the upper hand on. So, all in all, I think a good way to use him, slants, 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 slant them to death. And then, hey, Ryan comes into the show and he's going to give his opinion what they can do with DeAndre.
Run more slants. That's what I'm here for. Let's go.
Yeah, that's all you want. You want him to be doing what he does best.
I don't even know who we're talking about, but yes.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, yes. Well, of course. that works just fine. Sorry, folks. Apologize for the delay. Dan's the man in charge here. I am not playing hooky from my own channel, I promise you. Dan's just better at this than I am tonight because my computer sucks and I'm not in the studio. So welcome in. Hope you guys are doing well. If you're tired of this song and pony show here, make sure you like and sub anyway because I'm going to do something else that's a little bit more roguish. So what do we got, Dan? How fun is this so far?
Oh, it's good, man. It's the opening day, right? Today, media starts, and it's the quest for the three-peat. And I let them know this is already the greatest team that's ever lived. It's the only team that's gotten back to the Super Bowl the 3rd time after winning the first 2. No team has ever done it. They have already made history. They are already the greatest team ever. Now it's about putting the hammer down, right? It's about actually getting the job done. And again, guys, I'm so happy to be back here. I do apologize for not being available as much as I would have liked to last week. TDN obligations and being in Mobile with apparently headsets and stuff that don't work properly don't make for the best media creating opportunities. So glad to be back, and I hope you all enjoyed the last week stewing over a 4th consecutive victory against the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. It's fantastic.
Yeah, those poor Bills fans. You got to feel for them.
For
a minute.
You have to? Like, I don't know.
I guess you don't have to, but I'm excited to hear about your trip, folks. We have not had a chance to catch up. Obviously, we've both got some things going on. I've got some family stuff going on, so that's why I'm not in the studio tonight. But I look forward to hearing many, many tales of what happened in Mobile. First time in 8 years I haven't been down there for this cycle, so it's significant. But the Bills had us distracted. Now, obviously, we have history in front of us, and you're right. they're already done something that no one else has been able to pull off, and now we're about to see them do that much more. And I'm just filled today with the feeling of it's history on multiple levels. We know Patrick's the greatest, right? We know we have this never-ending debate about Tom Brady, right? Well, guess what? Travis Kelce is the greatest who's ever played his position. This will solidify it. Yes, he's got yards and touchdowns and things and whatever. This will be part of it because I really feel that the two of them together, that this will be the culmination of both of their first like epic song that gets them into the Grammy stage, or in this case the Hall of Fame, because I do think there will be two faces of Patrick career's life in Patrick Mahomes' career is what I meant to say. Because everybody makes an argument. Like Therese used to do this all the time, where he'd go in and he'd make an argument for somebody that he believed should be in. Someone will make that argument for Patrick Mahomes someday, and it's going to start with, well, the first half of his career he had Travis, and that's the defining moment for two Hall of Famers here for me.
Exactly, and that's what it is about for him too. Like Patrick, Travis, these guys are trying to make their own slice of history right now. Chris Jones is in on that too because of where he's been, and the fact that these guys outside of Patrick Mahomes weren't first round picks, right? That's another thing. Like you have to be able to hit on some of those players to create the nucleus. The Chiefs didn't expect Trent McDuffie to be where he was, and they decided they had to go and get him. Like that's, if you guys remember, I talked about it in one of the mocks I had in that draft. I had him going 12 overall to the Vikings. That's where I had him going. That's how high I expected him to go. And the fact that he was that far down, you have to go make some things happen. They did, and that's how you create the culture. You set the culture, and then you really create that floor for your team. Defense, offense. Now you've got Rashee Rice. You've reloaded with Xavier Worthy. You're getting better and younger, and then you're trying to figure out how you're going to turn things over after Travis Kelce decides he's done. When Chris Jones, granted, he's got years left. Like I'm not worried about Chris Jones, but all these things are in motion for Patrick to take that second swing, right? In terms of when you don't have Tyreek, you don't have you don't have Travis Kelce. So they've done a good job of gearing up for that. And nice to see you, Beery Mister, I think. Beerimer, maybe?
Beerimer.
With that. Okay. Beerimer, listen from Bangkok. Nice to see ya. All right.
That is nice. That's a new one. I don't think we've had anyone announce themselves from Bangkok, so cheers. I have no concept of what time it is there, but I'm guessing you're having a good time. So good morning, I guess.
Maybe, probably, I assume, at some way, shape, or form. Oxalotl, thank you for the 5. This is the week the Chiefs make history. Exactly. Soak it in, everybody. Soak it in. If I hear fireworks in my neighborhood on Sunday, history was made. Exactly. Soak it up. And if you guys have not gotten any Super Bowl gear from this run, I recommend you do so. I'm going to be calling the Kansas City Chiefs Pro Shop this week to get one of these jerseys because, again, you can't get them online, specifically the white ones. They don't ever have them. And if you do happen to find one, they don't have the players that you want. They just have, unless you want Patrick, which is fine. You do you. I want to get some other players, so I'm going to get one of those as well.
Hey, get all you can. And we don't have it quite locked down yet, but I am working with Spring to do some collectibles specifically to this particular game / Super Bowl and this accomplishment. So look for that. We're going to be partnering with them, but don't know exactly when it's going to. We're going to try to get the design sorted out here before we get to the end of the week, so that we can do something exclusive with them, and it'll be just here on this channel. So make sure if you want memorabilia, we're going to have something special for you this year, thanks to our partners over at Spring.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Oxalotl, for the 5. Let's go ahead and get into some of these more questions here. Steve, one of our members, thank you for the question. In some mock drafts, they have the Chiefs taking either of the Minnesota offensive tackles. What is the difference between them? I can't comment so much on Quinn Carroll. I know he played at Notre Dame, right tackle. He transferred over, played 2 years at Minnesota. He was in the Hula Bowl. That tells you his draft stock is not very high. He's probably going to be a day 3 pick. Again, I haven't watched the Hula Bowl, but I know that Arion Tertiary is one of the best tackles in the class. One of the best left tackles, pure left tackles as well. Not someone who's probably going to kick inside. Great hands, good athlete. He can stick and will play left tackle in the NFL. Again, I'm not convinced that the Chiefs are going to just draft him or any left tackle if they're going to be getting one at 31, 32. That's probably out the window at this point, specifically with the depth of defensive line and the non-depth of quarterback. These tackles are probably going to be gone by the time they get to the Chiefs. But in the event that it is Ariante Ursary, that probably tells you Kingsley Suamate is going to kick in at guard or play right tackle, because I tell you right now, you're not going to kick Ariante inside.
Fair enough. That would be a disappointment for me because I like Kingsley's upside, but if that's the best thing for this line going forward for what I'm going to call the next evolution of Patrick Mahomes' career, then that's what it's got to be. It doesn't matter how you get there; you just got to get there. And I'm really starting to get sensitive to. We're going to watch this game, and then we're going to start talking about a whole lot of things that could be very, very different going forward. So, trying to keep myself focused. Beermer, nice to see you. So it's 8:15 a.m. Love it. That is awesome.
Nice.
You get your RGR in the morning. That's killer.
Nice. Well, again, good morning. Hope you're having fantastic time over there because, it's not even winter right here over here. It was 65 or 70 degrees out today. So just hope you're having a good time. That's all I'm going to say. Appreciate you. Swag boy. Ryan, I'm going to take this to Ryan because I said it, figured out. How do we match up versus the Eagles? Their offense can really get hot, really get mixed emotions about the Eagles.
Yeah, they are very mercurial. They react pretty well. And I will say this, in the negative as much as in the positive. So for me, it's about getting off to the right start. It's about putting yourself in a position to defend them correctly. And I'm going to make no bones about it. You'll hear our game plan on Friday. We'll step you through everything. But sitting here tonight, the more that I've thought about it over this last few days, you have to set yourself up to win against the run. Because as good as the pass game can get hot, you have to stop Saquon. Or at least you have to contain him enough that he isn't breaking off 60-yard touchdowns. If they have to have an 8-play drive to go 90 yards and maybe he gets a 12 or a 13 here or something, maybe a 15-yarder, okay, they can live with that. But if he's getting 40-yard chunks, you're screwed because he's just going to rack up those points. And if they get any kind of changeover, if they get a stop against the Chiefs offense one time, you're behind the curtain. So, yes, they can get hot, but they can also get cold. You got to come in there and you got to stuff that run. You got to make them put it on Jalen, who I don't think is 100%. I do think the back is still a thing. And I don't think that especially given the status of Dickinson and Juergens, I don't think he's going to be able to run as effectively. So you got to take away what their bread and butter is, in my opinion, and deal with everything else. And yes, AJ is a hoss. Don't know if Devontae Smith's going to be healthy, though. And then you have Goddard. And that's really all they have. So for me, as much as they can get hot, they can get cold. And I'm going to make them go cold.
And that's the thing. You want to make them play left-handed. The Chiefs want to make everyone play left-handed. And their left-handed is making Jalen Hurts throw the football. He is not going to have his ceiling game like he did in the Super Bowl last time. That was a one-off. Okay? One-off. I will say with the utmost confidence, that's not happening this time around. It's not. He's not the same quarterback. He's not. He's not playing that type of game. So you want him to throw the football as much as possible, Swag Boy. And like Ryan said, we are going to get into the game plan on Friday to give you guys our ideas of what we would do in this situation, what we think the Chiefs will do as well. Appreciate the question. Jeremy, what's going on, man? Outside of left tackle, what matchup are you most worried about against the Eagles? I think I'm not necessarily going to be so worried about the defense against the Chiefs offense. I think there's going to be more than enough ways for them to attack the Eagles defense. So I'm going to stick on the offensive side, and it is that right side. It's the right side of the offensive line. The middle, like Ryan was talking about with the offensive players that you don't know if they're going to be fully healthy, they can attack that. But if they can consistently run the football to the right side, that's where it becomes a bit of a problem because Saquon, like I said, if you don't tackle him, it doesn't matter. You can do they can do whatever they want to. They can run their play action. They can run RPOs. They can do everything if he keeps breaking tackles. But if you get a couple of tackles for loss, like the Chiefs did early on in the Super Bowl last time, you start to force their hand a little bit. So I'm not necessarily say I'm quote unquote worried about it, But the right side of the offensive line against the Chiefs defense, mostly going to be George Karlaftis and maybe a little bit Chris Jones and or Derek Notting, things like that. How are they going to match up against the run over there?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Nick Bolton against Saquon Barkley, because Nick has been known to guess at times, or to pick a gap and go take it,
Yeah.
leaving a crease that Saquon can exploit, and he's been very good. Vision-wise, I think this is what people don't talk about enough. I think his vision this season to get himself out into the open has been maybe the best of his career, and that's why we're seeing those just explosive plays. Tranquil has the ability to run it down. Leo has the athleticism to run it down. Leo's recognition probably isn't quite what Tranquil's is, just because he doesn't have years of experience. But it's about not predetermining your fit. And I think that's something that Chris Jones will take some chances, and so will Nick Bolton. And they need to both not do that in this game.
I can understand that. I also think that the Chiefs have shown, even against the 49ers, that they're kind of okay taking some chances. You know, last year, we saw FAU sneak into the backfield and get a TFL. And I think that's okay to want to do against them. So I think taking some calculated risks with your defensive line might end up paying off a little bit, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Appreciate the question there, Jeremy. Got another one here from Swag Boy. Vic Fangio knows how to contain Pat. Those Broncos games were really close. Now he has the Eagles defense. How do we attack a little?
Man, I would be very, very methodical, and I would make them go where they don't want to go. I think they, like most of the league, thinks Travis is done, and then he's cooked. And they don't have to double him, and they don't have to keep an eye on him that much. Vaughn has been a reborn player in this defense because of his athleticism, and because he's not asked to do stuff that he can't do. Well, one thing that he can't do is turn around Travis Kelce. So if they're going to stick him on him, fine, take advantage of it. Until they bring down a safety to then cover him or take him themselves, I would just feed Travis. I would tackle right down the middle every chance I got until they make it go away. And when they condense, then I'm hitting X on reverses, and I'm hitting Hollywood on deep crossers. I'm doing all that stuff once they've condensed into the middle.
You always want to attack this team through the spine. I know that they have Zach Bond, but he's best going downhill. You want to get him moving the other way. You want to get him going that way. And I think you can. I think you can, again, like Ryan said, with crossers. You want him to have to pick up Xavier Worthy coming across the middle of the field. You want his head turned around at all times. They play a lot of zone. They make it look like man. They play a lot of zone because their players are best in zone. You can force them to play a little bit of man. You also are going to get some miscommunication problems because when the Chiefs, as we saw against the Bills, they forced them to play zone. They literally forced them to play zone. And every time they got them in a man look, they attacked them with mesh concepts, with pick plays. They just gashed them each and every time. And I think that the Chiefs can do the same thing. And like we said, segue, we're not going to give away all of our secrets right now. We're going to talk about some of this stuff in the game plan for Friday. But I appreciate the questions as always. This is the thing that Sin, appreciate the question. One of our members again. What about the Carter versus Caliendo matchup? Pressure up the middle worse than pressure on the outside. You're right. It is. And that's what I've been worried about with Caliendo. He's actually been kind of fine as a pass protector. He's actually been pretty good. Now, Jalen Carter is a completely different story. He is going to have the eyes of Creed Humphrey all day long. Everywhere he lines up in the center, his eyes are going there first. They will trust Trey Smith to deal with his matchup one-on-one. They'll trust the running back to pick up pass protection if they have to shift. They will put Creed Humphrey's eyes on Jalen Carter wherever he is. That's what they should do because he is the one guy that will wreck this game if you let him wreck this game. So I also think they also might just be like, not block him a couple times. Just be like, get him upfield and then like do something. Just create chaos.
Questions in his head.
You remember the plays against the Texans where the Chiefs had Xavier Worthy coming from one direction to the other, and then they ran split zone the opposite way. Those are two crossers, with a tight end coming this way, Xavier Worthy coming this way, the football going the other way. That's how you make those kind of guys think.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, everything they did last week is directed at that as well. If you guys missed my breakdown last week, I did a film breakdown. I know that's rare, and if people are like, "Oh, you still can do this?" Yes, I
And
still
I
can.
appreciate that.
Yeah, hey, but go check that out because they showed you that look for a very specific purpose because they scored two different ways with two different ball carriers in the same action, and they will do that again. And if they're smart, they'll replace those tight ends with running backs, and they'll throw all kinds of havoc at every identifiable piece that the Eagles are trying to key on. And that's a Fangio epic right there. That is job number one for him. Know who you're playing. Identify what can hurt you. If you keep changing up, the Chiefs are going to have their way.
Absolutely. Appreciate the question, Sin. Another one here from good old Swag Boy. Who has a big game on offense and defense? I'm going Pinnell, Wharton, then Watson, and Pacheco. You know, I want to answer your question this time. I do. But I'm actually going to save this one for the Super Bowl. I think this is a question Ryan and I will address more in depth in the game plan so that we have a little bit of a longer show for you guys when it comes to the game plan. We'll have some X factors, some things like that. So definitely going to do that. Appreciate this question again, Swag Boy, but we're gonna keep that one behind closed
I
doors.
just screenshotted it.
All right, there we go. And Minotaur, thank you very much for being here. As always, with the gifted subs, you guys make sure that if you're getting some of these gifted subs from our guys here with Minotaur, we got another one coming up here in a little bit that you are. I believe Ryan's actually way better at this than I am. So why doesn't he tell you what you're supposed to do with these?
So have fun first. You get in the chat, you get to do the stuff, you get to see the bald spots coming through nicely. And Minotaur sets you up for that. If you want to get more, just go upgrade to the rookie spot. Then you get all my notes, you get all Dan's rants, you get my extra little things that we hear left and right here that we don't put out in public because I don't like to spread rumor until I have it totally locked down and verified. So if I hear something that's cool, that I'm not ready to put out in public, you're going to hear it there in the members' chats. So go check that out in the videos as well. So that is the place to be.
There we go. Appreciate it, Minotaur. And thank you for gifting those subs to some people who don't have one. It's always great to see that. Corey, thank you for your question. Hey, guys, just out of curiosity, which do you think is the tougher matchup last year, the 49ers or this year's Eagles? That's a really good question. And it's comparable, right? Like this is comparable. The one thing that I'm going to say is the Eagles offensive line is 10 times better than the 49ers offensive line outside of one Trent Williams. They did not have very good players last year at offensive line, and the Chiefs were able to kind of take advantage of that a little bit. Now, the Eagles offensive line is going to have some injuries. Those guys are going to play. But if I had to say, I think that this iteration of the Eagles collectively is a tougher matchup than the 49ers were last year.
I think it's close, but I'll lean just the other way because you are right. But I don't think the Eagles will have both of their guys on the interior. So that does change the math for me. I will also say that I think what the Chiefs want to do in terms of coverage, Fred Warner still has the edge over Bond to me. And that centerpiece that has to really deal with Travis Kelce, I do think that was a little bit tougher competition last year. So 51-49, I'm going to go the other way.
That's fair. I understand for sure. Thank you, Corey. TC, what's going on, man? Hey, Dan, I was wondering if what your thoughts on RJ Harvey and how he fits with the Chiefs in the upcoming draft. So, RJ Harvey is very fun. He's explosive. He's more, I hate doing it, but he's basically smaller DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift does not have the best vision. He's very explosive, fun in open space, but between the tackles, one, he's really small. You also can't really ask him to do much as a pass protector. At 5'9", 195 pounds, I think is what he weighed in at. Maybe a little bit more. I can find that real quick. But overall, a smaller running back, good out of the backfield, good catching. He can't really put more weight on because you don't want him to lose that explosiveness. So if they're going to go like overhaul the running back room and bring in a bunch of different players, then yeah, he fits in a complement. But right now, as currently constructed, I still think you need a Kareem Hunt type player with the vision if he's not going to be back.
I'm 100% down with everything Dan said because I don't know any better. I will look at them later. Do you think Cooper Kupp, do we go after Cooper Kupp this offseason? That's a tough one. He would have to be another reclamation project that would have to be very cheap. Like not rock bottom prices, but like certainly in the D-Hop range, in the Hollywood range. That range is what you're looking for. If someone's willing to take that, then you have to look at the talent that Cooper Kupp is and the experience would certainly make up for that. So we'll see. I'm not 100% that he's even going to be available. Chris, you're tied in there too. Cooper Kupp and Miles Garrett available. Should the Chiefs be interested? That's a really, really loaded question because I do think Garrett, coming off of a Defensive Player of the Year, is a guy that is worth trading for still, despite his age. He's got 100 sacks. It's just you're not going to get the longevity out of him. That's not something the Chiefs generally do very often, is the short trade. Those Browns are going to be pushing for it. I think they actually wanted this because they made a statement a few weeks ago. Barry did that. Hey, we're not interested in trading. We're not going to let him go. We're not moving Miles Garrett. It took him to actually go ask for this to happen. And I do think that kind of plays into their, well, if he wants out, we're going to have to get a couple of number ones and that kind of stuff. And the Chiefs aren't going to pay that. Nor do I think that they should. Obviously, right now, he's one of the best players in the NFL. I have a tendency to think, just based on how much his body has been through, that he still seems to do a very good job. He seems to be very conscientious about taking care of his body. I don't think he's going to be a fall off the cliff kind of guy, but I do think you're going to start to see a decline sooner rather than later. Can he be a Defensive Player of the Year again next year? Possibly. But I'm not giving up more than a first-round pick. But that said, I would give up a first-round pick for it. I think I can live with that because you're not getting anybody that's a better pass rusher with number 32. I can guarantee you that right now.
You're also not going to be able to get him for a first-round pick. It's not going to happen. You're going to need multiples. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Absolutely not. The Chiefs should not be interested in giving up their farm and everything that they've built for Myles Garrett when they have done just fine without him. So, would love it if he was a free agent, but since he's not, absolutely not. And Cooper Kupp, if he's healthy, okay, cool. But the problem is that you have to trade for him. And then you have to pay him. You have to get the Rams to take on some of his money because he'll be making $20 million next year. That's a big no for the Chiefs. Nothing. Yeah. It's a big no. So I would love it. In reality, it doesn't make a ton of sense. Appreciate it, Chris. Cody, hey, Dan, did you see that the Philly Riders tweet about not slipping on the field? I tagged you and Ryan in it. I did just see that. It's not surprising that they're more focused on the field so they can make more excuses when it comes down time to it, right? They're focused on that so that they can get everything all lined up, Cody. Appreciate you looking out there.
I like where you're going.
All right. Dean, thank you for the Canadian 5. Nice. Been a while. I booked my trip to New Orleans from Vancouver. That's awesome. Any chance either of you will be there? If so, would love to buy y'all a beer. Dean, it's on my bucket list to cover a Super Bowl. But apparently, we are not good enough to get credentials to cover the Super Bowl. Maybe one day when the Chiefs are just, in it for the 5th straight year, they'll finally let us do it. But until that time comes, unfortunately, I think we're going to be at home.
Yes, we're gonna give it the remote version. They credentialed me when it was COVID, and no one had to go anywhere in public, and now not so much. So yeah. But so at some point, I'll buy you a beer. How's that, dude?
There we go. Loving it. Everyone buying each other beers. Thank you for the 5 spot there, Dean. Appreciate it. Where did you find Dan down there at the Senior Bowl? All right, let's see if I can get this right. Bradley here. Defensive line situation to help defensive line here in Kansas City. So who did I find at the Senior Bowl that can help the Chiefs along their defensive line? Well, there are just so many players. There is one guy that I really like. Darius Alexander out of Toledo. He is 6'4", 300 pounds, and he has 34-inch arms.
Now, I noticed him as well.
Draft him in Kansas City, put him next to Chris Jones, and prosper. That is what you do. That guy moves better than a 300-pounder should. He's long, he's physical, he plays with that energy. That is a guy I want in Kansas City.
Yeah, his tape stood out to me just as the pre-Senior Bowl stuff. I didn't see any of the practices yet. So I'm really interested to see, but that looks like a type of guy that is going to fit in the system really, really well. And I don't know, you tell me, like, is he a top 100 pick, you think? Do they have to spend that on him to get him?
Yes. I would probably consider drafting him with that first 3rd round pick if he's still available.
Gotcha. Okay.
Makes sense. Gets me excited. Thank you, Bradley. We're going to hit a couple super chats here. Zach, thank you for the $4.99. Do you guys have any concerns about this team, Chiefs, going into this game? like every team, like every game, there's always concerns. What happens if Saquon Barkley just runs for 200 yards? Like, I'm concerned that their run defense that was stellar earlier in the season just isn't there right now. It's a concern. But overall, that's what these games are about. The best of the best play the best of the best. And right now, I think the Eagles are playing the best of any NFC team because they're, for the majority, healthy and having, both sides of the football on the same page. But what about you, Ryan?
The only thing that concerns me is that we don't see anything turn into what we saw when this team played the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. It comes down to the protection, and it is that left tackle spot. I agree with you. I still think Joe Thuney's probably better in this game at left guard. I don't think they're going to do that. So we just have to be prepared for the fact that if they get into a situation where the pressure is too much to accomplish the offense's goals, you got to be able to go to plan B, and you got to get something done.
That's why, again, this is why I would have gone with Humphreys at left tackle to start. So you can always go back if you need to, but at this point, it's sink or swim. You are in it, and that's what it is. So I appreciate the 499 there, Zach. Thank you for the super chat. Matt, thank you for the 10. Hope you enjoyed your time in my town, Dan. Thank you. I absolutely did. I followed along with you on Twitter throughout the week. Great coverage. Thank you. I think I'm getting better at covering it live. It's not something you inherently know how to do because there's so many things going on. You got eyes, you gotta, this is it. Like, you're just moving back and forth. Your eyes are going. So I'm just trying to tweet things that I liked when I'm watching it. So I appreciate you following along and appreciate the 10 there, my friend. Thank you very much for the support. Very, very kind. Cody, thank you for the 2. Oppose. I imagine that means opposite defensive line, maybe. I don't know. Carter and Davis, based on size, Driscoll.
Saying should they play Driscoll to try to counteract some of that bulk?
That's what I'm thinking there.
And I'm gonna tell you, hell no.
No.
I'm sorry. I want to see Ethan Driscoll too. I'm looking forward to training camp. He ain't ready. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. This game, having not played, no. Not in the cards.
It's unfortunate, but you can't just throw him in there if he's for a veteran, it's one thing. For a vet, it's you've got some playing experience. Driscoll's a rookie, and not just a rookie that you didn't want, people taking off your practice squad. He's a raw rookie. Like, he's raw. That's why he's on the team, because you want to develop him. So it's not a situation you really want to find yourselves in there, Cody. Appreciate that, though. Brand, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, as you guys are always in here supporting us, making us so we can do this for you guys very much, and giving it out to everybody else in there so they can get a part of it too. Can't tell you how much we appreciate that. 5 gifted subs. Now, Daryl here has been a member for nearly 4 years. Thank you very much. Y'all have a score prediction? I'd say 34-31 Chiefs. We will have a score prediction, Daryl. Get a little head of the gun there with Monday, but we will have those on Friday for you. But as always, thank you for being here for 42 months. It's incredible. Thank you so much for the longevity and the support. Javance, $2. Thank you so much. 1 week left, people. Gotta go catch up.
Thanks, buddy. I'm glad you're around to catch up. Man, it's going to be a lot. And we've taken it easy. Dan was still traveling. I had family stuff. I've been in a volleyball tournament. My ears are still ringing all weekend. So we have a little catch up to do, but this is like where the craziness takes off, right? You're going to hear bits and pieces. There'll be little things. So I know it's hard to listen to all this like stupid media night questioning. Somebody's going to slip something out. There's going to be a nugget or two. So just keep your eyes peeled.
Always is. If someone says something every time, you just got to be understanding of where you got to listen to it. So thank you very much for the 2 there, Javance. FLDB, another one of our members here for nearly 4 years, got early access to the Super Bowl feed. 31-23 Chiefs win. Well, lucky you. Isn't that just fantastic? Enjoy the early access. I would love to have a little bit of that scripted plot there. So if you just want to send that my way, FLDB, I'd love to see what happens. Get some takes out there on Twitter so I know myself.
You can schedule them out.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for. Like Wednesday, we'll just tweet this, and then Friday, right before, we'll tweet the score, and just got to schedule it the right way. Man, thank you so much for 44 months there. Very much appreciated. And Brandon's back with another one, not just the 5 gifted, but 5 spot as well. If all the Chiefs players hitting free agency, who do you think has the most team value and yet won't make it back to the roster next year, Ryan?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one right now. It's going to come down, in my opinion, to one of 2 guys. One that hasn't been here very long is DeAndre Hopkins, who I would love to see back. But especially if he does anything in this game, I think someone else is going to give him a bigger contract than the Chiefs can really afford. If he wants to come back at this level, I think it's doable. We'll see what happens. And the other guy is Justin Reed, because somebody's going to pay him too. And 3 Super Bowls, and someone wants you to, just as the Chiefs did, to come in here and take over and be a leader in the secondary for you, someone's going to pay him outrageous money.
Yeah, it's like I said, Andy even said it right after the game. Like, this team isn't going to be the same next year. It doesn't happen that way. And the most value is probably going to be Trey Smith. Trey Smith's going to reset the guard market. And the Chiefs are not going to pay him. If they do, I'd be very surprised. I'll say that right now. I'd be very surprised if they paid him. Would I be mad at it? No, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I just don't think you can realistically pay him with Creed Humphrey while also paying, Joe
and
as well, and Juwan. Realistically, doesn't make any sense. So they're probably, again, we've seen that they have in-house options. Also, it's a very good tackles that play tackle in college going to play guard in the NFL class. There's a lot of those players that are going to condense down into the offensive line, and there's a lot of good players. One out of LSU, Emory Jones, I think is going to be a guard at the next level. He is a player that you could legitimately put in the Trey Smith mold. Big, he's physical, and he gets after it in the run game. He wants to hit people. Like, that's something you're really looking for in that regard. So for me, it's probably Trey Smith.
Oh, Minotaur, you're the man. I'm going to put that up there real quick, man.
Yeah, go for it.
Jump your plan, but not to put you on the spot, but hey, if you win, you win, and I appreciate you, and we appreciate you either way. So I think it's going to happen. So, it can't happen, and we understand, but I think you're going to have the circumstances you're looking for to get there, buddy. That one's for Dan, because I haven't seen him yet. In my opinion, stop the run against Saquon Barkley. You have to play a bear front and base defense and set the edge. The only way the Chiefs have success Sunday. It's not the only way. And I love the bear front idea. Steve Spagnuolo does not. He's gone to it a couple of times. And a bear front's great, except for the fact that in this defense, if he gets outside the C gap, boom, he's gone. And that's the problem. The Bears great inside if you have somebody that's just a vertical runner and that wants to take on those A gaps in particular, because it covers them up, it clogs them up, and it makes everything difficult. And it gives your linebackers an easier way to scrape and fill out in the B gaps and make sure that guys like Leo Chanel can be comfortable. I don't think they'll go to it. If they do, it would probably be if they see jumbo personnel, anything really funky with extra tight ends, they might go to it. And that might be a good idea. But again, it's not going to get the job done that you're looking for.
Agreed. I mean, you can mix it in a little bit. Like, the Chiefs have done a little bit of 5-man fronts every now and then. They'll throw one in there just to give it out there and do something like that. So I think that they might show it a couple of times just for that reason. Again, hopefully you get Jalen Hurts to check into a throw, and that's where you kind of want, right?
Yeah. It's a chess game.
Sorry, guys. Just trying to make sure I get her taken care of. She had some itches and stuff. So we're just trying to get some lotion in there and make sure she's doing all right. Josh O'Neill, thoughts on Theo Weiss Jr. from Mizzou in the later rounds? Yeah, I've got a 4th round grade on him. I think 4th or 5th round grade on him. I'll have to rewatch him again this draft cycle so that I can get reacclimated with him, so I can do a proper actual grade from this past year. But in the NFL, he's going to be more of a possession player, smaller. So I don't think you're going to play him much on the outside, which also would mean in the slot. the Chiefs have too many slot players. They need to draft some bigger guys on the outside, especially because you have Rashee Rice, and I expect him to take over that role again next season. So you don't want to just continue to just throw slot players. I mean, look what happened with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. Like, they were all put in the same bucket, and they weren't good. And they finally got one that was, and you said, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to look like."
I can't agree any more than I already do. And you got to keep varying it up. There's too many guys, even on this roster, that look a little bit too similar. So you got to keep widening. Go back to that basketball team mentality. Got to have some guys that they're post players. You got to have some girth there, even if it's a big slot. Like, I think that works in this particular offense. So let's see what they do. I got time for one more, Dan, then I'm gonna have to beg out, and you're gonna wrap it up here, folks. So hit Dan with anything good right now. Last call.
All right, we'll get here for FLDB. With our offensive line being much healthier than their offensive line, how much of an advantage do you think we have? 60-40, 70-30? Basing this on, let's say, ease for the defense to get pressure.
That's a tough one. I think you're going to see Juergens and Dickinson try to tough it out. I just don't think they're going to be 100% effective. I think it's more like 60-40 right now.
I'm probably with you. Like, I just don't think that they're going to be as effective. Like, I don't think you can get that. So hopefully we'll see what happens. I always want teams to be at full health, and if they're not, that sucks. But you got to deal with what you deal with, and that's why the Chiefs getting healthy at the right time was so incredibly huge for their run to the Super Bowl. But thank you for the question, FLDB, and thank you to Ryan for being here. He's got his own family stuff that he's got to deal with as well. So you guys make sure to send him off with all of the love and the thoughts that you always do.
Thank you, guys. And I'll have something for you tomorrow. Don't worry about it. It's just a conflict tonight. So, Dan, thank you for locking it down, doing what you always do, and taking care of business. Appreciate you.
Of course.
All right, buddy. Have a good night, everybody.
See you later, Ryan. All right, guys. We will continue to get through here. Ryan will, again, be with you later this week. We'll definitely have the game plan as well as the live after the Super Bowl, as we always do. Chad, how many players can be called up from the practice squad for the Super Bowl, and who will get called up? Now, this is a question that I should have had Ryan answer. If I would have looked for this going right to the next one, would have been able to answer. Now, I don't know personally. That's not something that I'm familiar with. But I would imagine that there is somebody in the chat right now that does know. And if they don't, they can probably look it up. So we'll come back to this question, Chad, if I can find an answer for you in the comments as well. Appreciate it. Hopefully somebody can help out. Lucas, what are your thoughts on the Kansas University running back? So Devin Neal is a good player. I like Devin. I think coming into this year, I was much higher on him than I am now. And that's not because I don't think he's a good player. It's because he's 220 pounds, and I thought he was much faster the previous season and the season before. I feel like he's slowed down. Now, maybe he decided to put on a little bit of weight so he could handle the NFL workload, which totally understand. Good player, good running back. I think he's still going to be like a day 3 pick now. Doesn't really have that home run hitting speed that you're still wanting, but very good vision. He's a good pass protector. He's getting better, I should say. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. He just lost a little bit of the explosion that I thought he had. So while I would have had him higher coming out with his speed, vision, and pass catching ability, he's kind of taken some of that away to be better as a pass protector, get better as a pass protector, and be more physical, which I'm okay with. It's just you got to learn what and when to take some of those hits, when not to. So I still like him a lot, but we'll see where the Chiefs end up with that one. I would like to see him in Kansas City as well. Yeah, Matt, he is. He absolutely is. There is zero question in my mind about that. And we've seen what he's done over the course of not just this season, but his career. Like, there's no doubts at all, Matt. I appreciate throwing that out there so that everyone else, remembers and reminds themselves that that's exactly the case. All right. Sorry, Quentin. I will come back to you here in a second. We'll come back here to Chad. And all right, so we've got a couple of answers here from Minotaur. Practice squad elevation is limited to 2. Brand says the same as Google AI says that as well. All right, we got corroboration from two people at least. So I think, Chad, I don't know. I would imagine you probably end up seeing the same elevated players. I believe we've seen Deion Bush, and then maybe you bring in a linebacker. But honestly, I couldn't even begin to tell you who I think it will be. Maybe an offensive lineman if you think the injuries again can creep up there. But they can bring up two. We'll find out who they are near the end of the week. And I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer because there's just too many variables for me to really to give you a clean answer. But you could also see, one of the wide receivers brought up as well. That wouldn't shock me in the slightest. Quentin, what happens when Trav hangs up the pads next year? Well, I think he's playing at least one more. So personally, again, he said he was coming back for at least two more. He signed that extension where he got, the 2 years. Sorry, he didn't sign the extension. He signed his contract that gave him a pay bump for the next 2 seasons. So I think he's going to play next year. But when he eventually does, Rashee Rice is your de facto Travis Kelce. That's what he's going to be. It's not going to necessarily be a tight end. It's going to be Rashee Rice. He's going to be that player over the middle of the field that's always open. We saw that start to happen this year when he came back his second year. He obviously got hurt. He would have been doing that if he remained healthy. So I think that we're just going to see a transition to Rashee Rice learning to become that player. And hopefully they draft a tight end that can do a lot more than what we've seen so far. Appreciate it, Quentin. Another one here from good old Bradley. For me, you look at the secondary of the Eagles, and that can be had, and there's a hole in that secondary for the Chiefs offense to exploit, and cornerback, not the strongest in my opinion. I think Darius Slay has played better in the postseason. Honestly, Quinyon Mitchell is fantastic. He's an excellent player, and he's been excellent all season long. And then they've gotten a lot better with Cooper DeJean as their nickel. So I think collectively as a corner unit, they're very good. But they can be had in the middle of the field, like we talked about with linebackers and safeties. I think you can attack them. I also think if you can isolate some players on Darius Slay, particularly Xavier Worthy, he can be beaten with speed because he doesn't have the speed he used to have. And I think you can get him that way. So I understand. I do think it's going to be tough for guys to beat Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Personally, I think Cooper is very, very good in the slot. And if you guys followed me last year during the draft cycle, you know how I felt about Quinyon Mitchell. He's been excellent too. So he's backing all of that up. Ruthless, thank you for being an 8-month member. Hey guys, do you think we make a sizable trade or the free agent signing outside of the organization? Maybe Cooper Kupp, Garrett Wilson, Myles Garrett? No, I do not. I'm not trying to rain on your parade here, Ruthless, but they need to continue to build the way that they've built. And unless they're going to free up a ton of money this season, I know they're going to have some with the cap going up as well, but I think that realistically they want to try to pay guys in-house as well and then bring in some free agents like they always want to do. I think they're going to want to bring some of these guys back, and you can only you can only pay everybody so much. So I think not only would you have to trade for some of these guys, you have to really give up draft capital to do so, and I don't think they'll be willing to do so personally. But appreciate the 8 months so much. Jay, 18-month member. Let's effing go, Chiefs. That's what I love to see, guys. We're gonna have it all week long. Let's effing go. That's what we're gonna say all week long. The question. Okay. Micah, what's going on, man? Do you think that the old wide receiver follow routes that Dick Vermeil ran would work today? Example, the wide receivers run next to each other or behind the first 5 to 15 yards of the route. So they still do some of those. They do kind of create some of those. They're just a little bit different. But today's day and age is more switch releases where you have players lined up next to each other and then they go this way and then the other goes that way. That's typically what you see nowadays. It wouldn't shock me to see them, really extend the same or follow behind. They do a little bit of that as well. But DBs are so much better at getting their depth and understanding when to pass off that if you take so much time for two players to go the same distance and get open, you're taking time away from Patrick Mahomes and the quarterbacks to throw the football. When today's day and age, defenses are limiting the deep passes and trying to force quarterbacks to throw quicker. So you have to be able to do some of that as well. So for right now, I think the best thing that we're seeing is the switch releases being more of a problem and how to take advantage of that. But it would be an interesting thought experiment for sure, Mike. I appreciate you bringing it up. All right. Jason, appreciate the question. Dan, what prospects impressed you the most in Mobile? There was quite a few guys. I have a list here on my Twitter. I'm gonna go look for it real quick that I made for the Draft Network. The big thing, I talked a little bit about him earlier. Darius Alexander out of Toledo was a big one that really impressed me. Is very, very happy to watch him in Mobile again. He looked the part, big, 6'4", 300-pound player with 34-inch arms. But the big names for me were Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State, Quincy Riley, Louisville cornerback, very good player. Olufemi Oladajo, excuse me, defensive end out of UCLA, mentioned Darius Alexander, and then Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State, one of my favorite players in the draft. I have him as a top 50 player. I love what he brings. Big, looks the part. So those guys were the five that I had that I wrote down for TDN that impressed me the most, just to my eye. There's a lot of them that did a really nice job. Now I see what we have here, and I appreciate Minotaur helping out. But I did get the question from Micah. So thank you very much, Micah, for the question. And thank you, Minotaur, for the super chat from Micah. I just wanted to see an answer. Is Trey Smith worth tagging and trading? He's always going to be. But I think teams understanding that he's a free agent, you might not be able to get what you want out of a trade for Trey Smith, because then again, you have to not only afford the tag, the money that you're going to be paying him, you also have to extend him and give up draft capital. So for the Chiefs, that would be an ideal world, right? It'd be great to be able to do that. I think that they might try to. It wouldn't shock me. Then you have him for another year, and then he's gone in the year after that. So this is a definite possibility for the Chiefs, again, to use their franchise tag this year on Trey Smith. And he's the only player in my mind that I think makes the most sense, particularly with the way that you don't really necessarily always want them to just leave in free agency. So appreciate Micah for the question, and then for Minotaur for the 5 for getting that out there, guys. Last call here for super chats as we're going to wrap up with these last 3 if we have no more. And I appreciate all of the questions. If I haven't answered your question, please hit me up on Twitter at InHarmsWay19 to be able, you can always ask me other questions too. We try to get as many as we can, but got some other things we got to get to today. So I appreciate all of you for being here. Olinair, thank you for the 5. I think Chris's best matchup is Becton, since Becton is not great against speed and pass rush. Who should line up in front of the center, Mike or Wharton? I think both of them should, a little bit here and there, but you should be moving guys around, obviously. But I agree with you. I think Chris is going to have a great matchup against Mekhi Becton. But the one thing I'll say is if you don't have a starting center or a starting left guard, Chris Jones is going to be picking his matchups there all night long. And he should. He should go up against the backups. He should create those situations. You're also going to see him against Jordan Mailata at left tackle. You might even see him against Lane Johnson at right tackle. Like, who knows where he's going to line up. So I do agree that if in a perfect world where they're fully healthy, that's probably his best matchup. Now, I think Mike Pennell is going to be great against the run there, especially with backups if he's lined up over the center. But even if he's not, he gives you that for pass rush stuff. Tershawn Wharton gives you more. But overall, I think Wharton's done a good job of giving you a little bit more floor as a run defender than I expected him to. So either way, whoever they want to put down there, but Mike Pennell for sure for a run defense. He's a much better run defender. Thank you for the 5. Longmorn, thank you for the actual 4 years, 48 months. Thank you so much for being a member for that long, man. Such a great honor to have you here. If we win another, do we give the Bills GM a ring? It would not shock me a little bit if they thought about it. But considering the Chiefs have already won 3 with Patrick Mahomes, been to another, are now in their 5th one with Patrick Mahomes, and they haven't sent him one to this point, no, I don't think you do. You already got the one. Obviously, Xavier Worthy, if he has a big game, I mean, look, that's just another one. You're never going to see the Bills trade with the Chiefs again in the draft ever. If Xavier Worthy has another big game, granted he scored against the Bills and had a pretty big game against them, but overall, I mean, it would not shock me. Thank you very much for the 48 months. That's so awesome. Thank you. I know there's a conversation going in here about Tyreek Hill. We will get to the Tyreek Hill conversation in the offseason for sure. We're going to end here with PKT. Thank you very much for the 5. Don't know if it's already been talked about, but what would you give up for Myles Garrett 2 first rounds? So we did kind of talk about this, and I will address it. Thank you very much for the 5, as I always will. 4 super chats. I'm not giving up anything for like that for Myles Garrett. I love Myles Garrett. He's the best defensive end in football. I just don't think the Chiefs need to be giving up first round picks in this era where you're going to be having, Chris Jones is going to get older. I don't think he's going to go away at all in terms of his production, but he is going to be 30 next year. Travis Kelce will eventually retire. Those hallmark cornerstone players, you need to also be able to try to rebuild them, right? Chris Jones was not a first round pick. Travis Kelce was not a first round pick. And yes, I know that the Chiefs, with picking at 31, 32 in the 30s for a long time, those first round picks matter less, but you're also taking away those points, those attempts to throw at players if you just give them up for a guy who's a bit older and that you're going to have to pay out the what for. So for me, no, if they're willing to trade him for 1 first round pick, sure. Pick up the phone. Would be totally okay with that. But no, not 2. Not 2. I'm not doing it. Sorry, buddy, but appreciate the 5. And Brand stuck one in here real quickly at the end. I've been a member for a few months, but I help run things with FLDB over at HBTC. You guys scratch a different itch when it comes to this stuff. I love it. That's awesome. I love that we have so much crossover between the YouTube pages, and Cole does a great job over there at How About Those Chiefs, and love that you're not just a member here, but a moderator over there. That's awesome to see that with you and FLDB. Appreciate the crossover support. That's kind of what we want to be, right? And I want to be that added voice where you guys want to come over here, maybe learn a little bit. If you want to go just like fan out, I mean, you can do that here, but you can do that a little bit differently other places too. Thank you very much for the 5. That's awesome. Very much for the appreciate. I appreciate that, Red. I like the fact that Dan will say, I'm not sure about this question when he's not up on the information. Humble, but very smart. I learned a long time ago that you're not going to have an answer for everything, and that's okay. And the more you learn about football, the more I learn that you don't know as much as you think you do. So it's okay to keep your mouth shut and to not really give an answer if you don't have one. I appreciate the comment, Red. It's very nice. And I'm just going to put this out here before we go on. Hey, Dan, I'm excited for this game. The interior of the Eagles are banged up and would like to see the defense take advantage. Side note, does LSU tight end Mason Taylor get drafted by the Chiefs? I would like to see it, Daniel. I was a big fan of what Mason Taylor did at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was much better than what LSU had him doing this year. And I agree with you. We're going to talk about it more on Friday as well. Thank you all so much for being here this evening and supporting us as we continuously bring you the best content that we can with the information that we have, as we always try and do. Make yourselves smarter. We're trying to make ourselves smarter so we can help you guys learn more about the game. Be sure to check out Ryan's video tomorrow. I will have some Chiefs Bills tape from the previous week going up on Wednesday. Maybe I'll try to incorporate some of the things that we'll talk about for Friday in there as well. And then you'll have Gary's video on Thursday. Ryan and I will be back with that game plan. We'll have it a little bit longer. We'll include some fun things, talk about a little bit more than we usually do to get you guys as prepared as possible for the Super Bowl. And then we will be live after. I can't believe it is Super Bowl week, the last football week of the season. It's insane. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate the support. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time.